Hello friends, Rocka from Dead Air Dudes. Today we're going to do something different. I'm going to review Doctor Sleep, and you can't do that without reviewing the two books that it's based on and the prior movie, the prequel if you will, The Shining. Obviously Stephen King is the writer, and now we have Doctor Sleep 2019 version done by Mike Flanagan. So obviously when you're trying to marry a previous book, a movie, and a present day book, there's going to be some problems. There's going to be some obstacles, some difficulties, even though it is widely noted that Stephen King was not a fan of Stanley Kubrick's fantastic, iconic movie. There are some omissions, some alterations that he had to work through. So it was interesting to see where and how Mike Flanagan would resolve these issues. And so, in viewing the movie, there were some glaring discrepancies that had to be either overcome or completely glazed over. Some worked, some didn't. I totally get it. I understand. You had to go somewhere, you had to make it work somehow. And there would be some people lying in the woods, and there's some people who are upset. One thing I think that was pointed out was the differences of characters, and I can oversee that as long as you can make it artistically work. By and large, I think Mike Flanagan does that. A few things to point out. The grandmother, spoilers alert, the grandmother, who in the book is discovered to be involved with the main character, Dan Torrance's father, Jack. And so Abra, the girl who is the supernatural powers, who supersedes Dan Torrance's powers, they're actually related through wedlock. It's glazed over, and I see it working with or without that fact being known. One big missing part is how Rose the Hat, the leader of the True Knot, which is this band of vampire-like supernatural creatures, supernatural humans who live for a long time, by stealing the steam or the essence of other supernatural beings, strongest of which is in children, and even more fortified, intensified if the children are tortured. So here's the dark, crazy side of Stephen King coming out. It was by and large enjoyable, but again, the way Rose the Hat, the leader, eats the steam or consumes the steam is by this jaw unlocking and unhinging, and a ravenous tooth comes out like a fang that just feeds. I would have loved to see that. After reading the book, that's one of the biggest draws. Totally omitted. That's a big downer. Second thing is the group, the True Knot, is in the book sick, or they're overcome by a plague, namely measles, because they consume the steam of a child who has measles. There's a lot of plot holes in that by itself, so I kind of get how it was omitted. And food is scarce, meaning steam, meaning essence of young gifted children. And so that's the driving force for them to hunt, if you will, and being desperate. So I can see that being omitted. Again, less of a slight than not seeing the vampire's tooth come out. But the big glaring is the ending. Now, there's some holes because in the book, the original Shining, the Overlook Hotel is possessed, it's haunted, it's built on Indian burial ground. There's so many evil spirits dwelling. It takes hold of Jack Torrance. It is ultimately destroyed by a boiler accident because Jack Torrance neglected his duties to let out the steam. So Jack dies. Obviously, anyone who's seen The Shining, and if you're watching this, you have seen The Shining. Jack dies frozen in the maze outside, Overlook still stands. So how do you resolve this? Overlook still remains. Towards the ending, without giving too many spoilers alert out there, it is now Dan Torrance's duty to finally level the Overlook Hotel, let off the override the steam system of the boiler, and blow up the Overlook Hotel to smithereens. But it robs the hero of the book, which is Abra, the young girl, the very gifted young girl, of being the one to finish off Rose the Hat and finally finish off the True Knot. That's gone. I get it. I get that you had to pair the Overlook, Jack dying, the whole thing. I don't know about that. But anyway, all in all, fantastic read. Again, it kind of fails in comparison because there's a lot of things to overcome translating into the cinema. It's an above average acceptable movie. It's nowhere near for Shining 2. Don't even look for it. Don't even think you're going to get there. It's a flick that you want to maybe put on, get to the completion of the story of what happens to young Dan Torrance after The Shining, and that is what it is. So it's a good flick. It's not great. It's popcorn that really wants that added 5 to 10 squirts of butter, some nachos with more dip, with some crunch, not too stale. So it's an above average, and that's the best I can give you. Still, enjoy the movie, watch to completion. If you're a fan of The Shining, even more so, read the book. I'm Rocka from There Dudes. Keep reading.